Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. This talk is titled, Opening Our Hearts and Minds to the Guru, by Sister Bhakti.
Good evening. This evening's subject is opening our hearts and minds to the Guru. It's a very beautiful subject and very central to our progress on the spiritual path. In a way, it's a subject that is familiar to all of you, because you would not be here if Master and his teachings had not deeply touched your mind and your heart. But even if we have been on the path for a long time, we still need to open the mind and heart to the Guru every day anew in order to really receive fully the spiritual abundance that he wants to give to us. When I first read Master's autobiography, I was especially struck by two things. One was that the questions that I had always pondered over, questions about God, about the meaning of life, and also about good and evil, I hadn't been able to find answers that satisfied me. But when I read Master's book, the answers came one after another, and my mind was completely satisfied. And the other point was that I was deeply touched by the way that Master talked about God. It was so personal and just such an outpouring of love and joy. And I thought, that's what I want, that kind of relationship with God. And I think that it has been similar for many of you when you found Master's teachings. And as we study the lessons and practice what he taught, we can see that there are always those two aspects to his teachings. There's a science of yoga that satisfies the reasoning mind, and then there's the devotional aspect, that heart connection with the Guru. And that's so important because it brings our sadhana to life. It makes us realize that the meditation techniques are not only just precise and scientific formulas, but they are a living link with Master and with his blessings. So that gives meaning to what we are doing when we meditate. And it motivates us to cultivate a more personal relationship with Master. In order to benefit the most from his teachings and to truly know him, we need to open both the mind and the heart. Well, the Guru is for us a bridge between human and divine consciousness. We can relate to him because he lived on earth as a human being. He went through all of the same struggles that many of us have had. And at the same time, he had transcended the limitations of ego consciousness and of Maya. And he comes to encourage us and to tell us, yes, you can do that too. Rajarsi Janakananda, a beloved disciple of Master, who became president of Self-Realization Fellowship after Guruji's passing, summarized in just a few words our relationship with the Guru. He said, Master came to give us God, and all we have to do is receive. Now that sounds simple. But Rajarsi was not referring to a passive kind of receiving where we just sit back and listen to Master's words and get inspired and then wait for him to change our consciousness. Now, if he did that, of course, it would save him a lot of time and trouble. But as those of you in the education field know very well, learning by doing is the most effective way. And this very much applies to the spiritual path. It's one thing to read about meditation, But when you meditate and when you start feeling that peace of God and that sense of well-being, then that becomes real to you. It becomes part of you. And the same thing when we apply Guruji's principles of spiritual living in real life situations. Again, they become part of us. They become part of our character. So by making those efforts, we are gradually transforming our consciousness to be more in tune with the Guru's consciousness. And that in turn makes it possible for him to help us more. So it's really an interactive process between us and the Guru. He doesn't do everything for us because it would not be in our highest interest. This reminds me of a story that Mrinalini Mata told us. It took place on the first anniversary of Guruji's passing, and she said that on that occasion, Rajarsi Janakananda had a very deep experience of Master. And he told the devotees in the ashram, I have been with Master today. They have had a great celebration in the astral world, in heaven. Master was filled with joy and love, but he has not forgotten you all. Master was very much aware that they were missing him. And so he said to Rajarsi, tell them this, but I am just as much with them now. And tell them all, I could appear to them now in this instant in form. But if I did, they would be content to remain as they are. Rather, by their spiritual efforts, they must come up to where I am. And he would say the same to us. He has really provided us with everything we need in order to go all the way on the spiritual path. The highest techniques of meditation for interiorizing the consciousness, and also the principles of spiritual living that bring attunement with God. And he has promised us his eternal love and friendship, and that he will guide us until we get all the way to the ultimate goal. He even takes on a portion of our karma. So just think, among the millions of souls on earth, we have been given the blessed opportunity to attain God consciousness, even in this life. And from the Guru's side, all the doors are open. We just need to give our willing cooperation to open the door of our mind and our heart to receive. Guruji has said that his consciousness was always tuned to those who seek his guidance. But the question is, what about our consciousness? Where are we amidst this fast-paced and often confusing world? If we want to be completely open to the Guru's guidance, we need to make room for him in our hearts, in our minds, in our lives. One thing that we can all do to make the Guru a real presence in our lives is by inwardly talking to him throughout the day, asking his guidance about our work, or asking him to show us how to behave rightly in a given situation, or to help us overcome some habit, or just to say thank you. In the area where I serve in the ashram, we start the day with a prayer and with an affirmation of Master's. And this is something you can do silently, no matter where you are. And I find that if I turn to Master briefly before each new piece of work that I begin, it helps me to stay more focused and more calm. Somehow the right ideas come better if I remember to consult him instead of just trying to do it by myself. Jaya Mataji once said, "To me, the meaning of discipleship is to live in the thought of the Guru's presence." Even during his lifetime, he encouraged the devotees with him to cultivate that inner attunement in their thoughts. Or sometimes he would say, keep your mind here, and he would point to the Christ center. So that is another way to make contact with the Guru. I think I don't need to tell you that it can be especially challenging to keep the mind anchored in the thought of God and Guru in today's world. You've probably experienced it at all. You've experienced the complexities, the pressures, the distractions. There's so many things that are competing for our attention, and the mind is constantly being pulled outward. I know many of you have demanding jobs and family responsibilities, sometimes financial challenges, and it can be difficult to give sufficient time and care to everything that you need to do, which in itself can create pressures. And on top of this, there is so much information continually coming to us from different sources. We have the means by our phones and other electronic devices to find out instantly what everyone else is doing and everything that's going wrong everywhere in the world. This really keeps our minds in perpetual motion, and it can be really overwhelming at times. Recently, someone told me that there have been studies done about how often people check their phones to see if they have any messages. And the survey discovered that many people look at their phones every 5 minutes, and that if they don't, they are anxious that they might miss something. Of course, I don't think any of you are doing that. Well, maybe not. But if you find that you have gotten into the habit of reaching for your phone a little too often, just think of how it would be if with that same constant urgency you would focus on Master or on some inspiring thought from his teachings, or just to say, I love you, Master. That's something that takes less than a minute. And as Master said, every minute is a link between you and God. Every minute is a link between you and God and Guru, if you choose to make it that way. And if you do that, then you will find out what you have really been missing, the peace that it brings to the soul. Now, I don't mean to criticize technology or minimize the practical usefulness of some of these devices, but we just don't want them to rule our lives. But no matter how complex your external environment is, if you want to keep that connection with the Guru open, there are ways to do it. There are always ways to do something that you really want to do and that is really important to you. You can use the little gaps of time that you have to bring your mind back to the Guru. You can have a little picture of him with you to remind you of his presence. And just notice the general trend of your thinking. Ask yourself, what is my first thought in the morning? Do I wake up worrying with thoughts like, oh my goodness, I didn't finish what I was supposed to do yesterday, and now today I have all these meetings and I have another deadline that I have to meet. How am I going to get it done? Or do you think of Master and ask him to help you? Mira Mata, who was the mother of Mrinalini Mata and also became a renunciant in Master's ashrams, she used to begin the day with a cheerful, all right, Master, what are we going to do today? So she was putting him first. She was thinking of him first before opening herself to the problems. And that's a good idea. It will give you courage and confidence to get whatever the day brings, and you will have more energy and creativity for problem solving if you have connected with that eternal source of help. I'd like to tell you a little story about a devotee who overcame a problematic situation at her job by keeping Master close in her thoughts. Some years ago, I spoke with this devotee. She was very dedicated to Master and had heavy schedule of work and family responsibilities. And she was also facing a difficult situation at her job. In the hospital where she worked, she had been put in charge of a team of people who just were not very cooperative. One was always complaining in a rather belligerent way. Another one was suspicious and misinterpreted every kind act as having some ulterior motive. And this devotee really wasn't used to people responding in this way, and she was having a hard time. It was very stressful for her. We talked about the fact that she need not face this situation alone, and she made up her mind to daily seek Master's help in learning how to be firm but kind, and in not taking things too personally. So she took Master with her to work. Every day she talked to him, asking him to help her keep calm. And she affirmed and envisioned herself surrounded by peace and harmony. That helped her very much. Then she also she would ask Master what she should do the first thing in the morning before talking to any of them. She would say, how should I manage this situation? And she also tried to see beyond the surface of their personalities and to acknowledge the good in them. Gradually, they began to respect her and to trust her. She noticed that the woman who had been complaining so much was actually a good worker. And so she tried to encourage her and thanked her when she did well. In time, this woman became a contented member of the staff. And she was even open to practicing some of Master's affirmations. 4 years later, this same devotee called me to say that she had just received an award for her ability to deal so well with people in her job. She herself could see how much she had changed from being nervous and intimidated by difficult situations to having that calm confidence in her ability to deal with people in a positive way. She said, all the credit belongs to Guruji. She felt she was able to change because she sought his help and because she applied his principles. So in these kinds of situations, we have a choice of how we respond. The ego's impulse is usually emotional. We get angry, we get defensive, we feel hurt and upset. But this devotee chose instead to open her heart and mind to the Guru's help by asking, how would you have me behave today? And when we align our thoughts with him, then the whole vibration of our consciousness is different. Then it's easier to see people as souls and to treat them that way, and they're more likely to respond accordingly. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. Taking the thought of the Guru into daily life situations helps us very much to be in tune with him. But Master also emphasized the vital importance of meditation in order to cultivate a deeper soul connection with the Guru. Because it is with our attentive practice of the techniques that we can free the mind and heart from that static of restlessness. That is what keeps us from feeling Master close, and that's what keeps us from feeling what his guidance would be. So meditation takes away that static of restlessness, and you can feel that you're in touch with him directly, and you can feel that peace. Master said the most destructive shaft of Maya delusion is unwillingness to meditate, and thus to prevent oneself from tuning in with God and Guru. So we need to be watchful that we are not getting in the habit of making excuses for not meditating. What sometimes happens is that You come home from work and you're very tired and you just don't feel like it. Or maybe you just think, I have so much to do, I just can't fit it in. Well, Dayama never allowed us to use that excuse. She said, if I can do it with the responsibilities I have, you can do it too. And Guruji wrote to one of his students, never give up your meditations for less important things. Try to make every moment count so that you will always have time in the morning and at night to meditate. If seemingly there is no time, you must make time. We would all like to have a couple more hours in the day, I'm sure. But by make time, he meant that we need to really want to do it, to make it a priority, to make it a necessity in our life. Then we can find the time. And if there are periods when you actually are just not able to do your full routine, you don't need to take an all or nothing approach. Sometimes devotees think that if I can't do my full routine, there's no point in trying to meditate. And that isn't true. If instead you try the best you can with the time that you have, then you can be sure that you have the Guru's blessings. And whatever the length of the meditation, it makes all the difference in the world if we fill that meditation with the thought of the reality of Master's presence. How would you feel if you were being invited to meditate with Master every morning and evening? Just imagine how you would look forward to it and how focused you would be, and your whole mind and heart and being would want to absorb that divine joy, that divine love. Think of that the next time you meditate. He is there. All you have to do is to invite him into your mind and heart through your practice of the techniques, through faith and devotion. Master also mentioned that if we think strongly of the Guru before meditation, that meditation will be reinforced by God's power flowing through the Guru. Now, when we meditate, there are two things we especially need to avoid in order to keep our minds and hearts completely free to receive the Guru's blessings. And one of these is that we not carry our work or our problems into our meditations. Miramata put it this way: leave your worries, your emotions, and everything else outside the chapel. Smile from your heart with the freedom that comes from surrender, and you will know the truth of Master's promise. When you are meditating and when you are serving, I will be right at your side. So surrender is the key word. In fact, it is the magic key that opens the mind and the heart fully to the Guru. But it's amazing how tenaciously we can hold on to our problems. Sometimes it just doesn't let you go. But if we are willing to let them go, even for the duration of your meditation, and hold on to the Guru instead, then you will feel that your burdens have been lightened. Another way that Maya tries to prevent us from opening our mind and heart fully to the Guru in meditation is if we go into the meditation with the expectation or desire for specific results or experiences. This, as you know, can cause restlessness and tension, which keeps the life energy from going within. Also, in a way, we are putting a limitation on what we will accept from God and Guru. That's why Sri Yukteswar said, to know God, don't expect anything. Just launch yourself with faith into his blissful presence within. He meant keep completely open to what God and Guru give or to what they do not give. If you do not receive some tangible result that you're expecting, they may be giving you the opportunity to practice unconditional love. And that's a gift too. Sister Gyanamata, who was such a saintly soul, didn't have many experiences in meditation. She did not always hear the Om or always see the spiritual eye perfectly. But she continued striving to deepen her meditations. She said, "I do not ask for marvels, only the greatest marvel of all, the realization of thy presence, O Self." She wrote in her diary, "As I crawl along with my practice of meditation, still I believe, am sure that changes are passing over my entire being, physical, mental, and spiritual. And as I write this, I vibrate inwardly as though an inner presence gave me this confirmation." And she so much looked forward to every meditation. She never gave in to discouragement or thought, "Oh, I'm not getting anywhere." Instead, she said, "All day and at night when I go to bed, I look forward to the early morning when again I may practice meditation. Tomorrow I will surely do much better, I say. Tomorrow, another day and another opportunity. Then still another day and opportunity. It is wonderful to think that days and opportunities will keep coming and coming and coming until one day I will not need to seek for opportunities anymore." So it's that kind of openness and complete faith in the Guru that allows him to just pour his blessings out to that devotee. So we've talked about the importance of meditation and of talking to Master inwardly to cultivate a loving and trusting relationship with him. At the same time, we might think, well, I wish he would talk to me too. Well, he does through our conscience, sometimes through other people, and especially through his writings. Master has told us the Guru is the speaking voice of silent God. And he said, when I am gone, the teachings will be the Guru. Through the SRF teachings, you will be in tune with me and with the great Gurus who sent me. We are blessed to have volumes of guidance in Master's writings. And before long, we will have even more of his God-inspired wisdom when the new lessons come out, thanks to our beloved Mrinalini Ma's victorious completion of that task. These lessons will surely inspire us to even greater zeal to put into practice all of those gems of wisdom. Mrinalini Mata said something very beautiful about Master's writings. His light is present in every word that he has uttered, illuminating the sadhana and the way to practice it, and helping you to be receptive to the blessings that God and Guru are waiting and eager to give to you. They are waiting and eager to give to you. And she encouraged us to make the most of those priceless treasures of his divine wisdom. She said, if you have a problem or a question, something you're anxious about, pray and then search his writings and teachings. You will find there the answer you need, and you will know that he is with you. And she told us that if we really thoroughly assimilate Master's teachings in his books and in the lessons, we will find that they are not only a source of constant inspiration, but they can be a source of personal guidance from Master. She said, when we are really in need of guidance or protection from some force of Maya that is trying to delude or tempt us, Master's words in his teachings will come to our aid if we have made them part of us. She told us a wonderful little story that illustrates how this principle works. Some years ago, Mrinalini Mata was spending a weekend retreat in the mountains. She had been facing some challenges and was feeling quite sad. It was winter time, and late one night when it was snowing, she just went outside and walked back and forth in front of the retreat, thinking about how sad she was. But then Master's words came to her mind. You must always be happy. The thought was very strong, almost like a voice had said it. But she countered it by saying, I don't see any reason to be happy. And then another quote from Master came back to her. Nothing can make you unhappy if you choose to be happy. And nothing can make you happy if you choose to be unhappy. Again, Master's words. Then she thought, but everything is conspiring to make me unhappy. It's true, if I don't choose to be unhappy, none of these circumstances that I have been going through, none of these tests I've been facing can make me unhappy, but I don't see any reason to be happy. So she had no sooner had that thought than another thought from Master came to her mind. The greatest sin against spirit is not to be happy. Well, no matter what argument her mind came up with, Master's words from his writings would just flash back into her mind. And eventually she just burst out laughing. She said, I felt like I had had a verbal tussle with Master, and as always, he won. And she said, I stood there in the darkness, laughing out loud. That mood, that sadness completely disappeared. I felt that my heart was just going to burst with joy, because Master, in his own words, had guided me. She said this has happened to her many times because she had made that effort to assimilate all that he had written, and that we can experience that too. She reminded us that if we study and absorb and meditate on Master's teachings, maybe half hour a day, or even 5 or 10 minutes a day, we will grow steadily in attunement with the Guru. And I think we can probably spare 5 or 10 minutes. Many of us also simply open one of Master's books at random when we want some guidance. I think you've probably done that too. And one time, some years ago, after I was suddenly given more responsibilities, I was feeling some doubts about how I was going to manage. So I opened one of Master's books, and I expected something profoundly comforting. Do you know what I opened the book to? The story of the 2 frogs in trouble. Master has a wonderful sense of humor. If you're not familiar with this fable that Master used to tell, it's about 2 frogs who happened to fall into a milk pail. And they were paddling around the pail trying to get out. And the big frog got tired and discouraged very quickly and sank to the bottom of the pail. But the little frog kept paddling and paddling until it felt something solid underneath and realized that he had churned the milk into butter. And so he was able to hop out. Well, I thought Master's message to me was quite clear. Stop worrying. Just keep paddling and you will be all right. I've had many occasions since then to put that to use. Master has assured us again and again that his help is with us just as much now as it was with the devotees who knew him when he was in form. He said, even when I am gone, my help will always be given to true devotees all over the world. If they keep in tune, I shall be just as deeply concerned for your spiritual welfare when I am no longer in this body as I am now. I shall always be watching over each one of you. And whenever a true devotee thinks of me in the silent depths of his soul, he will know that I am near. When we feel that nearness, then we can receive what the Guru has to give. Dayama has told us there is no barrier between you and the Guru except what you put up in your own mind. That's food for thought, isn't it? There is no barrier between you and the Guru except what you put up in your own mind. So let's take a look at some of those mental barriers that we put up and how we can remove them. It is very easy to open our hearts and minds to the Guru when everything is going well, when we feel his love and his help, when he has answered our prayers. But what happens when the Guru's will and guidance do not coincide with our will? Sometimes that's when the problems come in. It's then that the ego's wishes and the likes and dislikes put up a barrier that shuts out the Guru's omniscient wisdom. And that's when we especially need to remember that the Guru is the speaking voice of silent God. We have a choice to resist or to surrender to the Guru's wisdom. Our soul says, yes, surrender. But our human nature sometimes says, no. There's a perfect example of this in Master's autobiography. When he first met Sri Yukteswar, they had that beautiful exchange when Sri Yukteswar said, I give you my unconditional love. Will you give me the same unconditional love? And Master said, I will love you eternally, Gurudev. Then on the same evening, Sri Yukteswar asked Master to do the one thing that he absolutely did not want to do, to go back to his family and to go back to school. He said, Sir, I'm not returning home, but I will follow you anywhere. And he comments in his autobiography, my young heart was not yet malleable to the transforming fingers of my Guru. I think something of the same nature has probably happened to most of us. We have our own ideas and preferences about what we need and what we think will be most helpful for us. And generally, those ideas are based on what we are used to doing or what our ego would prefer. The problem is that the ego is too short-sighted to see what is for our highest good. And the Guru's omniscient consciousness does see. So the question is, whom will we follow? Miramata advised regarding these situations, let us ask ourselves, how much do I accept the guidance of God and Guru? Am I standing here with the door of my heart open just a crack? Living my own life, remaining in my own little world and thoughts? Or do I throw wide the door of my heart and say, come in? There's no room for them in our hearts if they are filled with desires and attachments. We should let their divine presence and wisdom and light fill the inner chamber of our lives. But Master also said, those who obey my wishes are in reality not obeying me, but the Father in me. That wish to do what we are used to doing also arises at times with our spiritual practices. Devotees will say, for example, I get a lot out of the Hangsa technique, but the Om technique is harder for me, so I don't practice it so often. Or, I exercise a lot, so I don't always do the energization exercises. I don't think I need it. But with the techniques especially, it's important that we follow the Guru's instructions because they are so scientific and they are also so interrelated. We will gain more if we trust the Guru rather than if we do what seems easiest for us. To be open to what the Guru wants us to learn is also good to remember when we meet challenging situations. The Guru's goal is our soul's liberation, and he wants the highest for us. So he keeps trying to push us forward. And he does not necessarily cater to what our comfort zone is. I think you've experienced that probably. I had that experience when, not long after I had become a brahmacharini, I was asked to accompany a senior sister to a weekend Sunday service at one of our centers. And this was the first time I had been on such a trip. And my duties were pretty light. I was to lead the exercises and to play the harmonium and to give a little meditation before the Sunday service. And I was looking forward to a nice, inspirational weekend. Then on Sunday morning, the sister who was to give the service was not feeling well, and I needed to give the service instead. I still remember the topic, proof of the existence of God. Well, I was very much counting on his existence, his presence, and his help. But I confess that I did question why he was putting me in this position, because I had never given a service before, and I just had 1 hour to prepare. Luckily, the audience was very kind and understanding about my predicament, so I survived, and I think they did too. The next day when I was back at Mother Center, I had to take some papers to Dayamata, and she asked me how the weekend was. So I told her about my adventure, and she laughed and said, "Well, Master just wanted to bring you out of your shell." Personally, I thought it was a bit drastic. As long as we are in mortal consciousness, we are all living in some sort of shell, whether it is shyness or some other limitation that we think we have. And sometimes Master does not wait for us to crawl out of our shell at our own pace, or when we think we are ready. He speeds things up a bit. I think you've experienced that. He makes us stretch our capacities. But if we don't resist or shy away from challenging situations and think of it instead as opportunities the Guru is giving us to grow, to get rid of some of the can'ts in our consciousness, then we can make those challenges into soul-liberating experiences. In order to break down our mental barriers and be open to the Guru's guidance, there needs to be mutual trust between the Guru and the disciple. If you're going to open your heart and mind to someone, you have to trust them. Master said the disciple bears his soul to the Master, and the Master bears his heart to the disciple. There is nothing hidden between them. And his request to the disciples always was, "All I ask of you is this: never try to deceive me, for you cannot. Always be sincere with me." Master was very honest with his disciples. If they wanted his guidance, he would tell them when they were wrong. He still does, through our conscience, through other people, through circumstances. And he expects that we be honest with him. We need to let him see us just as we are, without fear, without trying to hide our flaws. Because then he can help us more to see what we need to change and to change. Those who were around Master, such as Dayamata and Mrilinimata, had utter trust in his unconditional love. And Dayamata describes this so beautifully. She said, "Of all the human beings that I have known in this world, there is one and only one to whom I knew I could always go and bare my soul without the slightest reservation. That was and is my Guru. He radiated so much love to us, which filled the heart with a deep, reassuring sense of security. We knew he understood every weakness we had, every trial we passed through, all the unspoken desires or frustrations of our hearts, even the ignoble ones. And yet he remained always the same toward us. His love and friendship were and are unconditional. And it is the same way for us. His love and friendship is unconditional." Another way to break down the mental barriers between us and the Guru is to replace negative thinking with positive thinking. Light and darkness can't exist in the same place at the same time. That's true in the outer world, and it is also true in our minds. Negative thinking is one of the main barriers between us and the Guru. That's why Master was so adamant in the training of those around him, that they learn to overcome moods such as anger, fear, anxiety, self-pity. Actually, any kind of negative thinking clutters our consciousness. Resentments toward other people, negative thoughts about ourselves, about circumstances, and about life in general. All of these things block our devotion to the Guru and our ability to receive from him. Especially during these uncertain times when we hear so much about problems in many parts of the world and in the lives of individuals. People are so confused sometimes about the purpose of life and even the value of life. And it's important that we not get pulled down into a disillusioned frame of mind when we hear or see such things, because that only keeps us from being fully open to the Guru's help. Yes, there are problems because humanity has drifted too far from God and his laws. But Master has assured us we are in an ascending cycle of the world's evolution, and only light can dispel darkness. And rather than being disheartened by these problems, may we all make an even stronger resolve to bring in the light. That's part of our responsibility as Master's devotees, to help bring in that light through our meditations, through our prayers, our personal efforts to change for the better by applying his teachings, and our own positive thoughts and actions in our family life, in our work environment, and in our community. Sometimes we don't realize how powerful those individual efforts can be. And also the united efforts like you are feeling here when you meditate together, when you chant the Om together in the healing service. So we need to remember to keep that positive attitude, because that's the way we can draw upon the Guru's strengthening presence. And by our own positive attitude, we encourage others. And positive thoughts are energizing. They open our mind and our heart to limitless resources when we are attuned to God and Guru. I wanted to tell you another little story which symbolizes the need to always keep our consciousness open to the Guru's presence. This is something that happened to Miramata. One day, Master came and knocked on her room door because he needed to discuss something with her. And she had been very weary the previous evening, so she had left her books on the floor and some things scattered around her room. And when he knocked and she invited him in, she was just quickly trying to put things away. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you weren't ready for me. I'll come back later when you are ready." So she knew that he said this not just to remind her to keep her room tidy, but to become more aware, consciously ready for his presence. She said, "Many times Master knocks at the door of your heart during the day, and you must always be awake and ready to receive his blessing, to be in tune with him, and to serve him in every way you can." I especially wanted to say something about the negative thoughts that devotees sometimes tell us they have about themselves, such as, "I am unworthy, I'm not good enough or not spiritual enough to be on this path," or "I can't face Master because I made a mistake." And this kind of thinking is really one of the most powerful tools of Maya, because the discouragement that it creates saps our energy and weakens our will to make a spiritual effort. And it keeps us from being open to the Guru's help. Some years ago, we received a letter from one dear soul in which she enumerated on several pages all of her faults. She was absolutely trying to convince us that she was a really bad person, that she wasn't doing the things that Master said in his teachings, and that she wasn't reliable and she was difficult to deal with, and on and on. And we wrote back to her, "This isn't the way that God and Guru see you. The things you've written about have nothing to do with your soul. They are just a covering that can be removed." And we urged her to change her perspective. We also added, "If you were really as bad as you have said you are, you would not be so concerned about it." We are all on the spiritual path and want to progress and to do what is right and to please God and Guru. And sometimes in the process of trying to be so good, we discover some things we don't like in ourselves. Or maybe we feel we have fallen short of Master's ideals. But just because you have some flaws in your human nature, that doesn't mean that you are unworthy. Remember, you are a child of God. How can you be not good enough? He didn't make any inferior souls. And if you were not ready for this path, you would not have been drawn to the Guru. The fact that you have come this far, it is because you have already made a lot of spiritual effort in the past. Besides, you have Master's promise. God has sent you to me, and I will never fail you. Those are not just words. They are a divine promise. And Guruji said, "If you are in tune with me, I can lessen your bad karma. If you are not in tune, you shut me out. So please don't shut him out by calling yourself unworthy." He sees your soul's perfection, and that's what he is trying to bring out. Ask yourself, if you found a priceless gem and it had a film of mud on it, would you say, "This is worthless"? No, of course not. You would simply get busy and wash off the mud. And the Guru will help you with the scrubbing if you let him. If you reach out for his help, instead of concentrating on the mud, we spend too much time concentrating on the mud. The Guru is not here to count our mistakes. He's not the least bit interested in judging us. All he is interested in is that we learn from our experiences and that we pick ourselves up and keep going. So never, ever turn away from him out of embarrassment because you have made a mistake. I think we all have made a few mistakes at least. So remember Sri Yukteswar's words to Master, which very much apply to all of us. I will be your friend even if you should err, for then you will need my friendship more than at any other time. One of the nuns who was here during Guruji's lifetime, our dear Sahaja Mata, who was a very devoted and humble and gentle soul, she told us that one time when Master was scolding her rather firmly for something, she happened to look up into his eyes, and she saw there only love and compassion. And he would look at us the same way. Master has told us, I will never give up my job about you. Never for a moment identify yourself with momentary flashes of error. Have no fear. Even when I am gone and no longer visible to your eyes, you will never be alone. I shall ever be with you. We cannot imagine with our human mind the lengths to which the Guru will go to help the disciple. Dayama has said that the Guru's relationship with us is founded in a love that will continue to follow you and care for you unto eternity. So we are all in his care. He will do anything to save us from the bondage of Maya. And the power of his love is much greater than all of our flaws put together, and greater than the pull of Maya. So our part is to open our heart and mind to him by living in the thought of his presence, by getting to know him through the practice of meditation and assimilating his teachings and applying him in our lives. And even when we face situations that we would not have chosen, if we keep our heart and mind open through surrender and trust in him, we can gain much strength and soul freedom. We need to watch our inner environment of our thoughts and attitudes and try to remove the barriers of negative thinking and self-will so that the Guru can bring out our true nature, what we really are, a unique and cherished child of God. We know that Rajarsi Janakananda and Master had such a beautiful divine friendship, and how grateful Rajarsi was for all that the Guru had done to transform his life. After Master's passing, some of the letters that Master had written to Rajarsi were read aloud to him. And although Rajarsi was not an emotional person at all, when those letters were read to him, it was like he was experiencing for the first time the unconditional love of the Guru for the disciple. And he would say, I did not know he loved me so much. And he had tears in his eyes. For each of us, when we will reach that state of expansion of consciousness, when we can truly see all that Master has done for us in this life and in other incarnations, I think each one of us will say, I did not know he loved me so much. So let us receive that love with an open mind and heart and follow him to our own soul's liberation. Jai Guru.
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.